Alright, good morning. My name is Michael Kern, and this is Hard Work. Mark Bolger, Chad Pennington, Chris Redmond, Giovanni Carmazzi, Spurgeon Wynn, and T. Martin. So have you guys ever heard these names before? Have you ever heard these names? A few of you? I can see a few hands. You guys have seen these names. Well, do you want to know what these 6 quarterbacks have in common? These were the 6 quarterbacks that were taken before this guy, Tom Brady, in the 2000 NFL Draft. As you can see, he's not the most physically appealing human, and people have better physical attributes than him, which caused him to be overlooked. This is pretty much an example of his entire career. Tom has been overlooked with people that had better talent than him, that were more gifted than him physically, but he was able to prove to them through hard work that he was better, which leads to my question. To what extent does Tom Brady represent hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard throughout Brady's football career? So I'm going to start you guys off with some background, okay? Tom Brady grew up in San Mateo, California, right outside where the 49ers played in Candlestick Park. Him and his dad were huge 49ers fans. They had season tickets for 25 years. And it is said that Tom Brady fell in love with the game of football the day Dwight Clark made the catch thrown by Joe Montana. And that's exactly who Tom Brady wanted to be. So coming out of high school, Tom Brady was a very underrated quarterback. He didn't play until his freshman year, and he only had an offer from one school, and that was from the University of Michigan. There, Tom showed up, and he was the 5th string quarterback. But by his sophomore year, he was pushing senior Brian Griese for the starting job. Lloyd Carr, who was the head coach at the time, said that the competition is automatically going to go to the upperclassmen. So Brady waited one more year, and then his junior season came. And Brady had one of the best quarterback performances a Michigan quarterback has ever had, winning 10 out of his last 11 games and beating Ohio State in the horseshoe. And for those of you that don't know the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, it's crazy, bro. It's worse than Florida State. I'm telling you that right now. So that was a big deal. But going into his senior year, he had to compete with this guy, Drew Henson, number 7. He was a 2-sport phenom who grew up 20 miles outside of Ann Arbor, both baseball and football. And he's said to be one of the greatest athletes to ever walk the Michigan facilities. So they had this huge guy that was he was the exact example of talent that Tom Brady now had to compete with. And Tom Brady, as you saw earlier, he isn't the most physically gifted guy. He didn't throw the best ball. He wasn't the most accurate, he wasn't the strongest, he wasn't the fastest, but he was willing to compete, and he had heart. So what Lloyd Carr decided to do, he said, I have 2 good quarterbacks and I don't want to lose either of them, so I'm going to play Tom in the first quarter games, I'm going to play Drew in the second quarter, and whoever has the hot hand, that's who I'm going to go with for the rest of the game. So time and time again, Tom would start games off really strong, Drew would come in and put the team in a hole, and Tom was asked to dig him out of it. So after doing this for multiple games and having a few standout performances, Tom won the starting position again, only growing himself in stature with his teammates and his coaches. Then he would go on to lead them to an Orange Bowl victory over Alabama, winning 35-34, overcoming 2 14-point deficits in the same game. This is when Tom would become to be considered the comeback kid. Yet even though all this success he had both his junior and his senior season, he was getting no respect from any NFL scouts. So going into the NFL draft, he was considered one of the lowest ranked quarterbacks. But what he showed for the first time competing against Drew Henson was grit. Grit is defined by Angela Duckworth in her book that in all the very different contexts, one characteristic emerged as the best predicator for success. It wasn't good social intelligence, it wasn't good looks or physical health, which Brady lacked. It wasn't IQ, but it was grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals, and it's having stamina. Sticking with it day in and day out, not just for a week, not just for a month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. It's living life like a marathon, not a sprint, and that's exactly what Brady did. He had the passion, he had the perseverance, and he worked hard for it. To beat out these guys that were showing up that had all this talent, he was willing to prove that I'm the best guy for this job. So I'd like to show you guys a video of how he was thought of going into the NFL draft. It's just going to be some audio. This is what what the draft was saying about him coming out of college for teams to potentially have him play for them in the NFL.
This is the draft report on you. Basically, it goes poor build, skinny, lacks great physical stature and strength,
lacks mobility and ability to avoid the rush, lacks a really strong arm, can't drive the ball downfield, does not throw a really tight spiral.
System-type player who can get exposed if forced to add lift.
and gets knocked down easily.
This is Tom.
That kind of gets me fired up because I'm thinking, what the hell do these people know? I mean, that sounds like Joe Montana right there. I mean,
Can you name the guys who
So
were
that's
picked?
it. There's two things you can get from this video. One, Brady was overlooked. No matter how good his junior and senior season were in college, he was still overlooked by NFL scouts. You want to know why? He lacked the intangibles. Intangibles is a euphemism that NFL scouts use to say we have no idea what we're looking for, we just know it when we see it. And he didn't have the physical attributes that these other guys had. So going into the draft, they were like kind of pushing him aside, just saying, nah, he's not going to be that good. He's not going to be that good because he doesn't fit the mold of a perfect quarterback. This is really similar to Joe Hill's street art because you look at it and you get a certain perception of it, but that's just the outside appearance. And they looked at Tom, they looked at his outside physical appearance and they said, no, I don't think he's going to be able to make it in this league. But no one was willing to open up his chest and really look at his heart. So this comes to the conclusion that hard work will beat talent if talent doesn't work hard. This is proven because Tom Brady would go on to win 5 Super Bowls. He's still playing at the age of 40. And the 6 quarterbacks I mentioned at the beginning, none of them are in the NFL anymore. None of them are playing. So he's willing to go out and prove that if you're willing to work hard, even if you don't have the talent, you can work hard enough to beat out those that do. One limitation of this, though, is that if talent works hard, it can end up being a little bit different story. But in Tom Brady's case, it worked out pretty well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. I do have 2 questions for you. Was there evidence that you gathered that you didn't use, and then why didn't you use it?
Yeah, I gathered his NFL stats, so his stats throughout his entire career. But his stats would have kind of just been evidence to show that he was successful when that wasn't really my argument. So at first I was really focusing, I was like, this is how good he ended up being. But I was like, no, that doesn't show how he was beating out other talent. That just showed what he did when he got there. So I wanted to use like the Drew Henson of him at Michigan. And I wanted to say, all right, this is when he legitimately went face-to-face with talent and proved that his hard work was more important than the talent that was put in front of him. So I focused on that more.
Right. And if you had more time, what additional research would you do about this?
If I had more time, I would try to include more real-world experiences of this. So maybe in a workplace or how an average normal person that wasn't going, let's say, to try to be a quarterback in the NFL, I would try to incorporate that, like how even if someone is talented, like let's say someone's born and they're more, let's say, naturally intelligent than you, how hard work and perseverance, you can still achieve the same goals, and that you can do anything if you really, really dedicate to it, and working hard can get you anywhere.